Today we are here today with Debbie, the founder of Disrupt, to find out their role in growing businesses and what that means for entering new markets. So welcome. I suppose the first thing really is to find out a little bit more around Disrupt, like how did that come about?
Yeah, look, like life, it takes a lot of twists and turns. And so I started my first company when I was 19. In the not very sexy industry of carpet cleaning. So we kind of landed in the very unsexy world. But I got a company from 0 to 100 staff in like 10 years. And I realized I had a real passion for growing things. I like to build things and grow them quickly. And then over the next 10 to 20 years, I helped lots of big corporates do that. So they paid me lots of money to do big, exciting things with their money, kind of thing. But Disrupt is a culmination of the last kind of 8 to 10 years where I've been trying to figure out how to bottle what we did to help those big corporates, but help small to medium enterprises or young companies where the founder is owning them, to help them to build the same capabilities and have the same ambitions of fast growth. And the reason I love small to medium businesses is, one, you're helping the real person who owns the business. So that's really exciting for me. But two is I've found that if you can unlock the direction in which the business can go, that most business owners and most small and medium businesses can get themselves there themselves. So it's really just about that unlocking process at the start. Once they've got that clarity and they've got some confidence about where they're heading, they're away racing. And so that's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, cool. And on the website, it mentions providing market-led growth strategies. So can you elaborate on like what that means, especially for businesses that do have aspirations of going international?
Yeah, look, growth strategy is like one of those weasel words that you just never really know quite what it means, and everyone uses it in so many different terms. But for me, growth strategy is really a process of getting yourself up in the helicopter and getting out of your day-to-day and really looking at the wider market that you're operating in and getting a real sense of the different opportunities or white spaces that you could go chasing after that grow your business bigger and faster. And so if I just use a little example, I hope Thomas at work won't mind, but when I met Thomas, he was a soup company. And he was doing amazingly well, but he was still tiny because he'd chosen a very small market to be in. And when we sort of did the same, get in the helicopter, see where the world's going, we'd seen that my food bag had just started. And we're like, well, there's room in the market for multiple players. He had skills in doing consumer food. And so he pivoted his business into what now is with a really successful large meal delivery business. So strategy is really about looking at the market and understanding how you can play the game and be better and smarter and faster. It's not about how to actually implement any of that in detail. It's more trying to figure out the direction and the overall strategic approach that you're going to take. And so we really focus on helping companies to do that. And that's all we do. We don't do any consulting or any advisory work. We just do that one service to help people to get that clarity, and then away they go.
Okay. So in your experience, what are the common challenges that businesses face when developing growth strategies?
Yeah, look, there's a couple of biggies there. The first one is subjectivity, right? Subjectivity is the devil, right? Because you're completely immersed in your own beliefs and your own values. And so often when we first meet clients, we ask them all the things that they believe to be true, pretty much. You know, what do they think are the fundamental underlying kind of drivers of their industry? And we don't care whether they're right or wrong, but we do need to make sure that the underlying assumptions they're building their ideas on have some fact to them. And so often when we're desktop researching and collecting data, we find they're not right, that they may have been right 10 years ago, but they're not right now. So subjectivity it leads you down one path. Objectivity helps you to be really open to kind of all the options. So that's kind of the first kind of really, I suppose, big one. I think that the other sort of big thing for businesses is being able to have the benefit of years of experience of seeing other opportunities out there, or other patterns or other trends that are going on. When you're busy just doing things day to day, to expect yourself to be able to have that level of knowledge and experience is just not possible, you know. And so for us, you know, we do 5 to 10 of these strategy projects a month, you know. After a while, you get good at anything. You start to go, wow, we had this idea over here in this plumbing business. We could apply that to this chicken business, you know. And so, you know, to think that you can be an expert at strategy, but you haven't been working on it for the last 10 years, it's just a fallacy. Like anything, you need to practice it over and over again to be good at it.
And going back to the subjectivity side of things for a second, is that something that you sometimes see in New Zealand businesses, in terms of just sort of seeing, you know, there's a whole wide world out there in terms of what they could be doing and where they could be going?
Yes.
But being within New Zealand can sometimes just get stuck into the mindset of being in New Zealand.
Yeah, look, something that we have standard in our process is, you know, we analyze your direct competitors, 100%. You've got to know who you're playing the game with today. But then we always then go and look at the global players in that space, and we go and look at international markets and what's happening in that space. And often it helps you to kind of break out of your own thinking and think what's possible. I also think too many people focus on building a business and keep trying to get deep penetration here in New Zealand, when there's a big wide world to offer services to. But it's not until you do your homework do you realize it's actually possible for us to play in those markets. It's actually possible for us to compete. And that's not just small companies. There's some pretty big New Zealand companies as well that are also extremely nervous about internationalization. But it's not really that hard if you're really clear about the world you're about to play in. So I think getting that global perspective, even if you try to do a domestic play, it helps you to understand how the world's moving, and it also helps give you ideas of what's working in your space. So there's kind of nothing to lose by looking into it.
Yeah. So is that also kind of identifying some of those international trends which will in fact impact our market as well at some point in time? Yeah,
look, there's two parts to that. The first part is that New Zealand sometimes is a little bit behind the 8 ball. And so, for example, with Whoop, with my, you know, that kind of model, that was already quite significantly large in Europe and America. Blue Apron and other players like that had already kind of launched that. So the chance to imitate what they're doing, you know, Trade Me didn't think of Trade Me. There was a few other eBays. But on the other side, I spent a lot of time working with expats, helping New Zealand companies internationalize. And they say that we come up with amazing innovation from here in New Zealand, but we're just not great at commercializing it. So we have great ideas, great innovation, great invention, but it's about making sure that you make the money from that invention. You don't just come up with something amazing and then not effectively internationalize or commercialize it. So it's a double-ended sort of, you know, we can either copy what they're doing over there, but equally I think we've got something to deliver on a world stage that people just don't realize how great we are. Okay, so are you able to walk us through some of the consulting services and growth programs that you offer? Yeah, look, the number one thing that we do for people is a growth strategy service. It's taken us years. You know, if I hadn't known how hard it was, I maybe wouldn't have started this, but I have now. It's my passion. And so our growth service is one product, one price. It takes 6 weeks, and it's a desktop research service. We analyze your current markets, but then we analyze the international markets, all just using desktop research, just searching on the internet. We subscribe to a lot of databases, so we get a lot of information that you won't be able to get hold of. We pull that together into a market intelligence pack. And that's usually 60 to 80 slides of custom market intelligence. We're not just cutting and pasting stuff from left, right, and center. We're actively analyzing and interrogating the industry to find opportunities that you wouldn't normally see. And then off the back of that, we then generate 6 to 10 scenarios to say, hey, based on our 30 years of experience doing this, if we look at this market, you could do this, or you could do that, or you could do this, but they're pretty well formed strategic directions, ways to capitalize on the market intelligence. And that takes 6 weeks. We run 4 little mini online workshops, so it's pretty painless from a time commitment. But at the end of it, you have a really custom piece of market intelligence, market research, and you have real good clarity about the options. I have to say, we are not for the faint-hearted. You know, we're not for someone who wants to deliver an extra, year-on-year 5% growth. We're the kind of people that want to go from 1 million to 10 million, or from 10 million to 100 million. But people who are trying to really step up their growth journey and having, literally worked on hundreds of clients before, we've got a pretty good case history of how to build a big business from New Zealand.
Yeah, fantastic. And through all those different services that you've got as well,
yes,
how do you strike that balance between the data-driven approach that you've got there, as well as those creative aspects of strategy development?
Yeah, look, I think there's a really good parallel here to the advertising industry, if I may. And I mean the advertising, the old school creating an ad. Where it was all about basically having some super creative person who sat in a room for a week or so and dreamed up the next big TV ad. That was kind of the ad way. In strategy, it is that, but it's that based on a whole bunch of market intelligence. That means that there's a fact base behind those ideas. They're not just dreaming up and pulling something out of a hat. And everyone says to me when I start a project, surely you already know the answers. And I'm like, sure, I have some ideas like anyone else. But the answers really do come from the data, because you see something happening or you see an example and you go, wow, that would be awesome. So there's a little bit of creativity in it, but there's a whole world of facts and data and analysis. And out of that pops a lot of those ideas.
No, fantastic. And your website mentions a step-by-step decision-making process to decrease the risk of bold new initiatives. Can you share more about that process and how that works as well?
Yeah, look, as part of the process, as part of that subjectivity thing, we've learned over the years to have a lot of little mini bite-sized workshops, because as we introduce new information, people's perspectives change. And so even the first step, which is a briefing process where we get everyone to sort of complete a little bit of a survey to help us understand the current business performance, and then we provide feedback on that. And everyone goes, oh, it wasn't what we thought it was. Or, oh, I thought you said, why did you think that? And so what it does is it helps people go on a journey. When we start presenting some of the market intelligence, they think they really know their customers and they really know their competitors. And then we put a whole bunch of data in front of them and they go, oh, hang on, that wasn't quite what we thought. And so by unfolding it a little step at a time, rather than trying to jump into a workshop for a whole day and just try to miraculously kind of come up with some outcomes, we've gone a bit of a journey with our clients, helping them to unfold different things so that when we get to the end and we've got 6 scenarios, we're all on the same page. We all understand the same market analysis. We all understand the current situation. So coming up with the way forward is reasonably easy because you've already been on a journey together. And I had a client before Christmas. It was real fun. It's 6 business owners. Like that's my idea of a bad time. So 6 business owners, like, oh, and they've been together for 10 years. They've built a big business, but it's gone back down again, etc. And so we went through the whole process and we got to the end, and I was very nervous about the outcomes. And then I got them to vote individually as to what they thought, which scenario they wanted. And they all wanted number 6. All of them agreed because they'd received all the same information. Their knowledge set had got up to the same level. So it was really easy for them to go, actually, no, none of those others are us. We're number 6, That's gold for me. That's exciting. That's what we do this for.
So, you talk about taking them on the journey as well. And do you think that's just even more important when you're talking about kind of that international side of things as well, and really, say, for example, in terms of some of the export talks at the moment, a lot of people are mentioning India, and that hasn't been like such a big topic before. So is that part of the process of really taking them on that journey to really not only open their eyes, but also just help them kind of grow in terms of their aspirations too?
Yeah, look, I've done a lot of work internationally. I helped Fonterra open up China, literally boots on the ground doing deals, that kind of thing. So internationalizing is it's not for the faint-hearted, is what I should say. I think selecting the market you want to go to is about size. It is about level of competition, but there's lots of other things, just like, you know, comfort value for you, being able to operate in an English speaking or a non-English speaking market. You know, the way India rolls is not exactly how the way New Zealand rolls. You know, lots of emerging markets, it's all about backhanders and paying people. I mean, this is not stuff that we kind of go as PC for New Zealand. So heading ashore is definitely something I encourage people to think about, but you've got to go armed with the right amount of capital. You've got to go armed with the right amount of market intelligence. You've got to connect with people on the ground who know the market, not assume you know the market, and leverage their expertise. And you've got to be really realistic about how long it's going to take. But for those who do it, it creates enormous success. One of the projects we worked on earlier is Rocket Apple. You know, little apples in a bite-sized sort of thing. I mean, this is years ago now. But selecting the country and then selecting the entry strategy and then selecting the channel, you know, that takes a lot of time, effort, and money. It's not a matter these days of just hitting the ground with a suitcase with your samples in it and running around and getting some leads, you know. So if you're looking to internationalize, you know, and 9 times out of 10, unless you're a big company, that's going to require the introduction of capital. And to do that, you have to be very clear to anyone, whether it's the bank or whether it's professional investors, you have to be very clear about which country you're going to, why, how, etc. You've got to do your homework, you know. Now, we're the start of that homework process, and what that does is help narrow down which countries, but then you've got to go and get into those countries, start doing your feasibility study, etc. So love to encourage people to head into export markets, but only when they're realistic. Just the last comment on that is I had a client last year, I'm not going to name them, but in the makeup and skincare kind of space, exporting into America. Done really well here in New Zealand, got to 3 million rev, decided that they would start to hit the American market with $500,000. Now, we did a very first bit of analysis and found that the top 30 players in exactly the same kind of niche in that sector had raised at least $20 million to roll out into the North American market. So, you know, if you're going to play the game, you've got to play it their way in those markets. You know, when in Rome, you know, act like the Romans do. So that's, I suppose, a key consideration for anyone considering that kind of activity.
So making strategy development accessible to the wider business community is a unique aspect to you guys in terms of what you do. So how do you ensure that businesses of varying sizes and industries can benefit from your services? How do you make it accessible to them?
Yeah, look, mainly through affordability is my focus. So look, I know when people see our fees and they go, it's $10,000. The reality is that for that same piece of work 10 years ago, we would have charged over $100,000. What we've been working on is how to get the price of that right down as much as we can. And even a year ago, it was $20,000. And we're still delivering the same quality service. We're just focusing on how to build that in a really replicable and scalable way to make it affordable. So I still front every client that we meet, but I have a team of people behind me who are all getting better, faster, and smarter at delivering that service in a really affordable way. So I suppose the thing for me is we have startups, we have individuals spend $10,000 with us to find an opportunity, because you don't want to spend 3 to 4 years of your life chasing an opportunity that was never going to succeed. So that's the return on investment that we kind of ask of our customers. But the main thing off the back of that is we don't sell consulting services. I know that's a fear for a lot of small to medium business owners, is that, you buy one thing and then they try to sell you 10 other things, we don't do that. We do our first piece of work. If we can help you in any other way, great. But if not, we're sending you off to other people to help you. We're not here to you wake up in 2 years' time and you spend 100 grand with us. That's really fundamentally important to me, working with our clients.
Do you think there's specific industries or types of businesses that you find particularly responsive to your approach?
You know what? It's a great question. We get so many people ask us this question. It's really hard to help a farmer to grow bigger unless he's planning to process his meat and start selling it internationally. And we have helped some reasonably large farmers do that. But in general principle, most business opportunities have an opportunity to grow. Some of our best clients have been in the most unexciting industries. You know, we've had everything from spectrometers. Don't ask me what that is. It's a long conversation. We've had, services companies, product companies. Some of our best ones was a metal recycling company. So not very dynamic. Sometimes the less sexy kind of industries. Remember, my first company was in carpet cleaning. We built a big company out of that because it was a non-sexy industry, and we made it sexy. We made it awesome, sort of thing. So we do work with software and technology companies, but we also work with very simple companies and industries who are just trying to break free of the current industry model. So yeah, it's pretty much everyone with the exception of mining and farmers. Pretty much everyone else we can help.
Yeah, excellent. And so it's really just, it sounds like it's more about just trying to, I suppose, look at the thinking and how they think about their business and what you can offer within that space as well.
Yeah, look, we always offer everyone a 1 hour introductory sort of conversation. And probably 8 out of 10 of those, because they come through referral, are a good fit. And 2 out of 10, we go, you know what, we think we're not a good fit, but we can tell you someone who can help you, because for us, we don't want to take on clients who don't have the same ambitions of growth that we do. It's just going to feel uncomfortable the whole journey. So we make sure in that sort of 1 hour that it's a bit of a two-way conversation. We kind of show people what we do and they can look and feel and go, oh, that's for me. But also it's a chance for us to check that we are a good fit for them. I'm a small business owner. I have been my whole life. I don't want to sell anything to anyone who doesn't actually need it. It's kind of a fundamental pain point for me. I just me off.
So out of everything that we've talked about today, and you've gone through quite a few different aspects of it, but what would you say is the biggest piece of advice for businesses that are looking to expand into other markets?
Look, I think there's, whether it's with us or anybody else, is do your homework. I've seen so many people just put a lot of effort into something and a lot of money and do it the hard way. There's a particular case study that's coming to mind right now, doing it very hard, very high investment intensive. There's so many other ways to grow a business rather than the traditional organic growth model. And so for a lot of us, we're looking for a lot of our clients, we're trying to find them deals, partnerships, alliances, so that you can just reduce the investment cost of doing some of these things by leveraging somebody else's willingness to want to work with you. And so for me, fundamentally, in looking at those international markets, we're also trying to find deal partners, people who can help you land on the ground with a low cost footprint and get a higher chance of success. And so too many business owners I see trying to replicate what they do here in an international market instead of actually stepping back and going, hey, is there another way to work in there? And one of those that kind of stands out is acquisition. There's so many companies that never think to buy a company in the market they're going. But actually, banks fund lots of those kind of projects all the time. If you've got a reasonable trading cash flow, acquisition's a realistic option for you, and it's not as expensive as you think it is. So breaking out of your own thinking, not trying to replicate what you're doing here somewhere else, finding other partners and deal players to make it easier for you to land on the ground. It's really fundamental to growing in a market rather than actually just draining all your cash. That's the thing that no one likes, that situation where your money's going out and nothing's coming in, it's like, that's not a good opportunity.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, really appreciate your time today and sharing your expertise with us as well.
Awesome.
And look forward to seeing what 2024 has for Disrupt.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be a big year for us. So, I'm looking forward to it.